Stronger the walk score, kind of the better the neighborhood probably is, or the more things that it has to offer, which both appeals to the tenants, but also as a landlord, you know that there's different kinds of people that will need that property. So for that reason, I think a walk score is really important. If you're comparing properties, all other things equal, you want to look for the strongest walk score. I'm Erin Spradlin, and today we are going to cover midterm rental strategy if you are looking to purchase a property. So I'm going to give you 5 tips on what you would be looking for if you wanted to purchase a property with midterm rentals in mind. If you already own a property with midterm rentals, I have a separate video for that, and I will link to it in the comments. But this video might also be worth checking out, because if you already own the property and you see any of the things that I'm about to mention in this video, then you can highlight it in your existing property. Who am I and why am I qualified to tell you this? Well, I have owned investments since 2014. I have been in real estate since 2017. I work with a lot of investor real estate clients, and I am a consultant one-to-one for people in the midterm space that either don't have the time to watch the videos or have other things going on in their life. So I offer a lot of different packages, 1 hour, 2 hours, or I have a package where I will set up your listing and then coach you through it. I like this package because it kind of gets rid of the need for long-term property management, which I think in the midterm and long-term space is no longer needed. In the short-term space, absolutely, but in midterm and long-term, I have full confidence that most people can handle that on their own. A note, if you find this video educational, please like it. If you want notifications of when my next videos are going to come out, please subscribe. Okay, tip number 2. I am reading this from a Nerd Wallet article about 2024 investing trends. Renter households tend to be smaller than owner households, in part because only about 1/4 are married couples. Over a third, 35%, are single persons, and another 16% are headed by single parents. So this is relevant because this tenant pool tends to be 1 individual or 2 individuals. Now this is different if you are making a play and going after college students, which I think is a decent play, but outside of that, most people after they leave college or exit their formal education and can afford to live by themselves are going to want to. So on that note, I would say when you're shopping for a midterm rental investment, I would shop for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or smaller, and nothing bigger than that. Because while there is the occasional group that is going to need a bigger house, I think that demographic is much, much, much smaller, and you will have more vacancies in that property than if you have a smaller property that appeals to a lot of singles and couples. And again, walk score also fits with this because singles and couples might have disposable income and they might want to go out to the restaurants or be able to walk to their job, etc. And a walk score is more indicative of the things that are around it. Also, places that have a great walk score tend to be smaller, like condos, townhomes, brownstones, smaller units, which fit quite well with the current demographics of renters and the future of how we see families going. Okay, tip number 3. If you are someone that loves data, that's great. I love data too. The problem here is that sometimes it leads to analysis paralysis, and or something that I would hear sometimes is people would run numbers and then they'd be like, the numbers don't work. You know, it doesn't work. But then they would just keep doing it. And it's like, yes, the numbers don't work for what you are trying to do, which means you either need to switch your geography, switch your expectations of what the numbers are, or switch your price point. And what I recommend is analyzing 3 properties that are alike in one classification, but then having 3 different classifications. So what I mean by this is do an analysis of 3 properties in one area, 3 properties in another area, and 3 properties in a third area. And make sure that the properties are kind of consistent. And what I mean by that is make sure they're all single family homes, or they're all townhomes, or they're all condos. And then once you have that established, you are going to run the numbers. So you're going to pull the price for each one. You're going to pull the down payment, which is going to be 25%. So the cost of the house times 0.25 will be your down payment. And then you're going to pull the rent numbers. You can find the rent numbers 2 different places. So in this example, I pulled a rent estimate on a house that is $3.4 million, and therefore the rental is $10,600 per month. Probably not the case for a lot of us, but that's the rent estimate. And again, what you can do is go to Zillow, look up a property, and then just search in the find function, rent estimate, and it should take you to the part of Zillow that has this. Alternately, you can also look at Rentometer. So it's spelled out rent-o-meter, all one word, no dashes. You put in your address, you specify the number of beds. It gives you the option of 1 bathroom or more. So in most cases, you're going to put more, and then you're going to put whether or not it is a house or an apartment, and then it will spit back a number for you. And so I always take the median number, and in this case, it's 8,500 for the same property. So here we have 10,622 from the rent estimate and 8,500 from Rentometer. I usually combine those numbers and divide them by 2. So now we know that a good estimate for rent for this area, long-term unfurnished, would be $9,561. To get it to the midterm mark, I would times it by 1.4, so a 40% uptick, which gets us to $13,385. Alternately, and that's low season. So the 40% uptick is low season. And then alternately, if I wanted to see what it could come out to during high season, then I take that same number, 9,561, and I times it by 1.65, and I get 15,775. So then you're looking at the comps and just trying to see if the range that you've established, that 1.4 to 1.65, looks similar to what you're seeing in Airbnb and Furnish Finder for similar types of properties in your area. So you're going to do this in blocks of 3 across 3 different geographies. And the reason that I have you capped at 9 is because that's a lot of information. You're looking at 3 different geographies, you're looking at 3 similar places across those geographies, and it will set you up with expectations and how to be prepared when you're ready to purchase. It will at least give you a framework of how to run your numbers, but also give you an idea of what you should be looking for as you march forward, and or it might tell you that you don't want to be an investor or it's not going to work financially. Now with this, I always say appreciation is what you really care about. So for many of these models, you're just trying to get the most money, but really you're thinking appreciation is the long-term play. All right, tip number 4, let's just start with some thoughts from Forbes magazine. Despite some areas seeing price declines, the likelihood of a housing market crash, a rapid drop in unsustainably high home prices due to waning demand remains low. Experts point out that today's home buyers stand on much more secure footing than those coming out of the 2008 financial crisis, with many borrowers having positive home equity. The reason why I bring this up is because something I see with investors sometimes is that it's a low interest market. Some investors are very uncomfortable being part of the bidding war. Really turns them off. They feel like they have been told their whole lives they need to get a deal. And what is not available as far as a deal in their mind is a low interest market. And the reason for that is because in a low interest market, you have all these people putting offers in on the property. So to secure the property, you're going to have to pay above asking. You were going to have a very short amount of time to make that decision. You had to give away a lot of rights, and often you also had to put in some kind of appraisal clause. Understandably, this made a lot of people very uncomfortable. So people would say, no, I'm going to wait until it cools off. Now we are in that cooling off period because the interest rate is right at 7.5%. However, if you are a person that feels like you want a deal market, this is a deal market right now. Just putting this out there because you need to establish if you are more comfortable buying in a market like right now where you will have a higher interest rate, or if you are more comfortable buying in a market where you're going to be part of a bidding war and the price is going to be run up. Date the rate, marry the price. And what that means, when you say date the rate, it means the interest rate is high right now. If it continues to go up, then you have the lowest interest rate that you will ever have. If it goes down, you can refinance in 2 years and get that new rate that's lower. If you purchase property in a really competitive market, you pay $50,000, $100,000 over, you can't ever change that. That is the price of the house. So that is why they say date the rate, because it's temporary, marry the price because it's permanent. Interest rate comes down to 5.5%, that's when things will get competitive again. So 5th tip, the yard. The yard. Look at all those ugly yards. I feel like I can say that because I have an extremely ugly yard. Your tenants are not going to want to take care of the yard. They will have better are things to do for the most part, and yard maintenance is both expensive and hard to do, especially if you're remote. The yard is not a non-factor. It is the first impression that your future tenant will have. So if it looks like junk, it is a problem. If you're shopping for a property, then look for a property that's already rocked in or is small. Also, townhomes and condos are great for this because they don't have yards that you're going to have to maintain. That said, if you get a property with a yard, there is value to fencing it in. Tenants will like this, one, for privacy, and two, if they have dogs. All right, if you want information on how to have a successful long-term rental through Airbnb, I recommend this video. If you want to know how I keep my occupancy rate high, I recommend this video. And if you already own a property and are wondering about what you should do, check out this video.